Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Global Travel Update this week from Charlotte, North Carolina. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Lots of stories to get to. Of course, in North Carolina, the relief efforts are still underway. In the western part of the state, it's basically worse than you can imagine. Imagine being physically cut off from everything. And the recovery efforts there are going to take quite some time. Even though FEMA is there, they've distributed more than $100 million in aid. But the physical reconstruction is the key here, not to mention they're still looking for at least 60 people who are still missing. It's a horrendous situation. Go to our website, petergreenberg.com. We'll have all the aid and resource opportunities for you to donate and to help at this time. Everything you can do will be much appreciated. And of course, I will be back in touch with you in the next 2 months to let you know when certain roads reopen, where you can actually go and visit and help out in so many other ways in your travels. So please go back to our website and find out that information and do whatever you can. It will be so appreciated. Lots of stuff to talk about as we're 2 weeks away from the election. I had to joke that a number of destinations and resorts and spas are already offering, and it's probably needed, whether you're red or blue, an election detox package. There's one called the O2 Resort in Barbados. They've got 66% off on rooms. They've got a spa package there, and everybody gets a bottle of champagne. So you can either celebrate or commiserate, or maybe even not come back. But in any case, there's a certain humor there I thought I'd share. But now let's get to some harder news. About a month and a half ago, the Department of Transportation Inspector General did a safety audit of the FAA and its relationship with Boeing. And what did they find? Gee, what a surprise. What I've been talking about for years, a lack of proper or thorough oversight on the part of that regulatory agency, huge flaws in the inspection and quality control area, and the safety culture itself had been corrupted. Well, not to be outdone, now the General Accountability Office, the GAO, has weighed in on their safety audit of the FAA, and it's even worse. Think about this. They found 51 systems at the FAA that they're currently using. They described them as unsustainable. 54 systems as potentially unsustainable, and these are critical operation impact systems. But it goes beyond that to staffing, to training, and to equipment. And here's the real problem. For the last 40 years, all I've heard from the FAA is that they're about to install next generation equipment. They never got around to it. And by the time they did, it wasn't next gen, it was old gen, really old gen. And even though the FAA is claiming they are starting to modernize many of these systems that the GAO deemed as unsustainable, the timeline for updating them, this is nuts. 10 to 13 years. Unacceptable. We need a congressional mandate here for additional funding, for training, for staffing, and for equipment. Right now, air traffic control centers are in trouble. A number of the key ones are operating at only an 85% staffing threshold. That means, by definition, they're asking air traffic controllers to work overtime. The one job in the universe you never want anybody to work overtime on. So this is what we're dealing with. Now, it's an election year. I'm surprised that neither candidate is running on it. They should. It affects anybody who travels. But now you know, and you need to let your elected representatives know this is not acceptable. It needs to be fixed now. The funds need to be allocated now. If we took 1/100th of the Defense Department budget, we could probably fix it. So let's get our priorities straight. So there's that. Now, I've got some good news for you. And this is something that a lot of you have been waiting for. I probably can go back and calculate at least 30 or 40 questions from our viewers over the past 2 years. When is the GEM going to open? The Grand Egyptian Museum in Cairo. Now, to put this in proper context, I was in that museum 4 years ago, and it was opened for me to go into the workshops, and by the way, open to others as well, to see the amazing work being done in restoration of all the things they're still finding in the desert. When I went in 4 years ago, they were reconstructing, and it was right in front of me. I mean, King Tut's underwear, his bed. I mean, they're finding all of this now. There's only about 15% that they've ever been able to find that's still out there in the desert, and there's not a day that goes by that another truck doesn't pull up with another archaeological find. So here's the good news. After delaying the opening for 3.5 years, the Egyptian government tomorrow, Wednesday, is going to open it up on a trial basis to the public. They're expecting 4,000 people a day. What was going on, obviously, was that the president of Egypt, President al-Sisi, wanted to have a huge extravaganza opening and invite all the world's leaders. But because of the conditions in the Middle East, especially in Gaza and the West Bank, there was a decision made to postpone that. That decision to postpone is still in place. So there's not going to be a grand opening, but it made no sense not to open the museum anyway. So as of tomorrow, for all of you who've been asking that question, you can be reassured now that you can go and it will be open, and it is worth it. I've been through it. It's amazing. Now, a couple of other things I want to share with you, and that is airfares are continuing to go down. We're seeing airfares in January, February, and March right now under $400 round trip to Europe from the U.S. They won't stay that way, but they're there now. A lot of excess capacity. So check, don't wait. Do that now if you want to go. And remember, if you're going to Europe in January, February, or March, you're not going for a suntan, but you're also not going to stand on long lines. It's the best time to go. Update on Southwest Airlines. The management group that's got about 11% of the shares is seeking seats on the board, and another shareholder meeting is still asking Southwest to do other things that Southwest wasn't necessarily inclined to do. They've already reconfigured their planes. That'll happen next year. With premium seats, they're getting rid of open seating. They're now jettisoning some routes because they don't think they're profitable. This is because of pressure from the investment group. They're lowering the number of flights, and they may be even selling some of their planes. In the Hawaii market, which is something that they always wanted to fly, and they do fly it now, it has not been profitable for them, and that may be on the table as well. The one thing they keep telling me is not on the table, but I'll believe it when I don't see it, is the Southwest policy of continuing not to charge you to check 2 bags. That's a big deal. If you're a family of 4, that's 8 bags you don't have to pay for. Do the math. Per leg. So I know the investor group looks at that as leaving $1 billion of revenue on the table for not doing it, and that pressure is still very much there. But at least for the rest of 2024, they haven't changed it. Watch this space as we will be watching this space. All right, I have to share with you a couple of things. Every time I pull up at the airport, they have these crazy parking guys in front of the terminal in the departure area, whether you're in a taxi or an Uber or a friend is driving you, screaming and yelling you to move, get out, go away. This is at every major airport. Well, I think they've taken it a little too far in the Dunedin airport in New Zealand. This is the sign at the departure terminal where they park the cars. They're not kidding. They want you to hug before you get to the airport. So much for the long goodbye. How much you want to bet that sign gets torn down in about a week? But anyway, I just had to share that with you. Speaking of things that they're trying at airports, American Airlines is now testing something at the Tucson and Albuquerque airports. And here's what they're testing. How many of you get to the airport, whether it's American, United, Delta, and they have 85 different boarding groups? I know I'm exaggerating, but not by much. Sometimes they have 10, right? And by the time you're group number 8, it's people with personality disorders, and group 9 is people who have taken their meds, and group 10 is people who haven't taken their meds. But nobody wants to be in those groups anyway, because we all know for frequent flyers that if you're not in the first two groups, there's a reasonably good chance there'll be no overhead space for your bags because the airlines have crammed so many seats into their planes that even if you play by the rules of one carry-on and one personal item, there will not be physical space for you to put them in. So it's basically a race to get on that plane. So when they call the boarding, what do people do? They're jumping the line. They're putting there's that barcode reader they put in there right at the counter gates, and it's getting out of control. So what is American Airlines doing? They're now starting to shame those passengers. They have a system now. They're trying it out at the airports in Tucson and Albuquerque, so that if they call group 1 and you're in group 4 and you put your boarding pass in the reader, a loud audible alarm shows up. Meh. And of course, you're shamed to the back of the line. So let's see how well that works. Now, according to the airline, they say it's working great. We'll see. But that's one more thing that leads me to believe that the airlines only look at us as self-loading human cargo. We'll get into that a little bit later. And of course, by the way, I'm putting together, and I'll share this with you at the end of the year, my annual awards. My annual awards for basic stupidity in travel, my annual awards for innovation in travel, and of course, I would be remiss if I didn't do my annual awards for bad behavior in travel. So watch the screen, look at this meltdown that just happened at the Savannah Hilton Head Airport, and just see what happens. Watch the cop. Feel sorry for the cop. She, of course, was arrested. But did you hear what she said? Only trust firemen. Well, I happen to be a fireman, so I thank her for her thoughts, but they were imperfectly timed. That's the meltdown of the week. So at the end of the year, we're going to have our Stupidity in Travel Awards, our Innovations in Travel Awards, and our Bad Behavior in Travel Awards. So stay tuned for that. It'll be a beautiful video presentation. I hope you will enjoy it. All right, let's go and say hello to some people. Of course, who's first up? Jim and Harry from Richmond, Virginia. Lorena saying hi from Lansing, Michigan. Go Spartans. Paul saying greetings from Ashland, Virginia. And Sue saying hi from hot and humid Puerto Vallarta. Yes, we know that. Camilla saying hi from Tucson. Randy saying greetings from Northport, Michigan. Again, look at that. We have it on our website, how to help the hurricane victims. Please go to that site. Colleen is saying, if you need a beta reader for your autobiography, I volunteer. I'm curious as to what motivated you to work so hard and accomplish so much. Perhaps your mom's influence. Lots of encouragement and love happened there. Well, thank you, Colleen. I will tell you what did it, or at least what partly did it. My mother told me at a very early age that it was more important to be interested than interesting. And I've just stayed interested. I'm still curious. I'm like the 3-year-old kid who always wants to ask why or why not. Why not was what got me in trouble. Why was got me information. and that's what helped me be a good reporter, I think. But I always stayed interested, and thank you for your nice comments. Melanie saying hi from Miami. For visiting the Taj Mahal, would you recommend staying in Agra for the night to be closer to the Taj, or staying in Delhi and getting a private driver? Oh, very easy. You stay in Agra for the night, and you get your driver to meet you at 4 a.m, so that you're actually at the Taj when the sun is starting to rise. By the way, that's the same philosophy I have at the Great Wall in China. It's the same philosophy I have at the pyramids and so many of the other wonders of the world. You get there before the tour buses, you have a special moment, and then when you're done, you look around and you see all those tour buses heading your way, and you are gone. That's the way to do it. Okay? Tayo says the things that need to be regulated more by the government are severely underregulated, and the things regulated too much are overregulated. Imagine that. Yeah. Imagine that. You know what's interesting to me? I go back to cell phones and laptops. For years, what did every flight attendant say to you before the plane took off? This goes back maybe 10, 15 years. Your laptops had to be turned off. Your cell phones had to be in airplane mode because they would interfere with the plane's navigation system. By the way, that was a lie. I can tell you that. That was the regulation, though. The airlines hid behind this FAA thing that had to do it, right? Well, guess what? The FAA did inspect the electromagnetic, I should say, interference given off by every electronic device, whether it was cell phones, laptops, even Walkman at those times, and they bumped up the interference, the RF interference, to about 10 times what a normal machine would give off at distances of only 3 feet from every sensitive piece of avionics in the cockpit. And guess what the result was? 0. But the airlines kept doing it. They kept on making the regulation because at one point, their marketing folks were pushing to have the tray tops, right? Those tray tables be keyboards where you'd have to swipe your credit card to go on the internet. That's what they were hoping for, right? That never happened because before they could do that, everybody had their own laptop anyway. Now, there's only one exception to that inspection rule, and that was high-powered marine band radios. So my advice then, as well as my advice now, is that if you get on a plane and you're sitting in your seat and you see a guy walk on with a camouflage outfit with a huge whiplash antenna on his back, get off the plane. That's the one radio you don't want, right? But your cell phone's not going to make a difference. Neither is your laptop. And when they say put it on airplane mode, that's antiquated. And for those people who forget to put it on airplane mode, which, by the way, is about 80% of the people flying today, I rest my case because there's been no interference. And every plane seems to get to where it needs to go. That speaks to what Tayo was saying about over-regulated. Okay. Tayo says, do all airlines have investor groups that make these types of changes to their airline? It all depends on who owns the stock. Remember Carl Icahn and TWA? Remember the investor groups with that, right? Or the guy who used to own America West, Bill Frankie. Yeah, they can make some decisions that are not always good ones. Frank Lorenzo, remember him? Eastern and Continental. He has a new book out, by the way, which, while it's somewhat entertaining, it's the biggest piece of revisionist history I've ever read. How about that for a book review? Anyway, I do encourage you to read it if you like reading revisionist history. All right. Greetings from Tanzania. Okay. All right. Lisa's saying, have to jump off to take a call. We'll try to view the rest later. Well, you do that, Lisa. Jeff is saying hi from Santa Monica. Dan saying Fort Lauderdale. Joy is saying, hi, Peter, traveling to Dubai in February. I know it's the cooler time of the year. Can you still get in the water and enjoy the beach? Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, should I change money over here in the States or wait to get there to change it? There is absolutely no reason why anybody should ever change money in the United States for foreign currency. In so many places around the world, the US dollar is absolutely king. You may not even have to change it at all. And if you do want to change money, you don't do it at the airport. You're going to get a very bad exchange rate, or one of those ATM machines at the airport. Same difference. No, go to a local bank where you'll get the same exchange rate they give their own customers. And I would use my ATM card there, right? But you don't have to carry big wads of cash, right? And traveler's checks, when was the last time you saw anybody carry a traveler's check, right? They become art pieces now. Okay. Paul wants to know, is there a pilot shortage? Friend has an 18-year-old son who wants to be a commercial pilot. Any tips? No, there is no pilot shortage. The airlines are cutting back on flights. And right now this is all cyclical, of course, they're still waiting for deliveries of new planes from Boeing. Now, the rumor is that the Boeing strike may be over tomorrow. They're voting. The workers are voting on it tomorrow. And even if it's settled, though, I have to give you a caveat. And this goes back to the FAA. The FAA still has not enough inspectors to do the inspection work it should have been doing for the last 5 decades, which is why there's so many planes parked at Boeing manufacturing facilities that can't be flown yet because they haven't been inspected. So there's a big lag time here. So right now there is no pilot shortage. In fact, we're seeing pilots either being furloughed or pilot classes not being resumed at some of the airports, some of the airlines. Okay. Jim and Harry wants to know, is there any news coming from the TSA front? We made our contributions to the hurricane victims. Yeah, thank you for doing that. Yeah, the TSA is starting to get better in terms of biometrics. And they also have a new electronic ID that you can use to bypass even other lines. I'm still a member of Clear, and happily so, because that puts me to the front of the TSA pre-check line. TSA is doing a somewhat better job of not closing pre-check lines at 7 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon, which are the two big push times at most airports. So things are getting slightly better. All right, Red saying is watching from Omaha, and he's flying Frontier 4 times starting tomorrow. So not worried about Wi-Fi, as I'll be downloading several Ion travels to tide me over. Way to go, Red. You can always, you can do that. All of my shows, by the way, I didn't set Red up to say this, but he gave me the opportunity to. All of my shows are available not only on PBS, but Amazon and Apple TV Plus. You can download them at your leisure. And I hope that, by the way, applies to our Royal Tour series, our Hidden series, and our Travel Detective series. Our podcast, Ion Travel, is available on our website. And just go to our website, petergreenberg.com, and you can sign up for that as well. All right, let's keep going here. Couple of interesting notes to mention. If you check our website, you'll see that we have a new episode out, which will also feature my Hidden Gems of Montreal, which we shot in the winter, because that's where the hidden gems really come to life. So I hope you get a chance to see that. Also premiering next month on PBS and then later on Amazon and Apple TV Plus, our continuing 1-hour Hidden series. Remember, we've already done Hidden Belize. That's on the air now. Hidden Mississippi is premiering now. And next month, roll the tape, a little tease for Hidden Louisiana.
You may think you know this place with its music, food, and legendary festivals. But I'll show you a side of the state you never knew existed. So get ready. Uncover an ancient past and witness a cutting-edge future in a place where the surprises are as vibrant and diverse as its many cultures. I'm Peter Greenberg, and welcome to Hidden Louisiana.
Now, remember last week I showed you the photograph of that little pink baby balloon wedged in next to the chimney in Quebec? Well, so many of you liked it, you found that pink baby in other locations, and you sent in your suggestions. Take a look. All over town. This is in Quebec City. We love it. I love the one wedged between the two buildings. Love it. Thank you for doing that, by the way. We really appreciate that. And in fact, speaking of those photographs, let's go to the photo of the week. This is one beautiful photo. There it is. No, this is not photoshopped. This is not AI. This is the UP in Michigan, taken by Tracy. Tracy, I think it's Cochiny. And Tracy writes, this photo was taken with my iPhone. There you go. Where we live in northern Michigan, the beach is in Leland, Michigan, crowded with tourists in the summer, but that's the cool part. It becomes peaceful again in the off season. What do I say about the magic months of September and October? There you go. The sunsets on Lake Michigan are always spectacular, and this photograph certainly testifies to that. If you think you've got a photograph that qualifies as the photo of the week, you know what to do. Send it to photo contest at petergreenberg.com, and we'll put it right up there next to Tracy's. Tracy, a beautiful picture. Everything in that one makes me smile. So thank you for sending that in. All right, let's go to some of the questions you guys sent in earlier. Cynthia says, what's actually in those VIP lounges at airports? So I'm traveling a lot for my new job and spending a lot of time at airports. So what's in the lounges? Is it really that much better in there than with us peasants out there? Well, I'll give you the concept here. The concept of the airline VIP lounge was you went in there to avoid the crowds, to have some peace and quiet, maybe have a snack, go on Wi-Fi, maybe have a drink. But of course, so many airlines and credit cards oversold their memberships that there's always a line to get into the Delta Sky Club now. There's a line to get into the American Express Centurion Club. That's it. But if you can get in, it's still worth it as far as I'm concerned, especially if you're a frequent flyer. Now, the one credit card that's opening lounges now that is kicking you know what is the Chase Sapphire lounges. I'm talking about a really great lounge. You have to have a Sapphire card, of course, and you have to register online. But once you do that, you get in anytime you go. I have to say, this is not bad hummus and old carrots with sweat. This is great food and great mixology. They got bartenders doing drinks in there. I mean, I don't know how they're able to make money doing it. I don't think they want to make money. I think they want to just show off the brand. Remember, Chase credit cards, there are 30 million cardholders who hold that card who love to travel. And there you have it. But they've opened up in LaGuardia and a few other airports around the country. They are truly worth the visit if you can get in. Now, then there's the membership. And, there used to be you got in the Delta Sky Club if you had an American Express card. That's sort of dubious now. And it's the annual membership fees. If you're only going to fly once a year, don't join the club. But if you're a frequent flyer, and your time is worth something, I still would join the club. Now, I was one of the smart guys. I'll take credit for it. I won't tell you how many years ago, but it was a long time ago. I realized when I was a correspondent for Newsweek that I was going to be flying a lot. So I went to all the airlines I could that offered it, and I bought a lifetime pass to the American Admirals Club, the TWA Ambassadors Club, the National Sun King Club, the Eastern Ionosphere Club, the Pan Am Clipper Club, the United Airlines Red Carpet Club. Hey, am I dating myself or what? And of course, the Delta Crown Room. Now, there have been mergers and failures, but I'm still a lifetime member of American, United, Delta, and Alaska. A funny note about Delta, and this comes out of the category if you can't make this up, I've been a lifetime member of the Delta Club for at least 30 years. They used to sell lifetime memberships. They don't do it anymore, but I still have it. And about 2 years ago, I was at LaGuardia, and I went to go in the Sky Club, and they asked for my membership number, and I gave it to them, and they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, your membership's expired." And I'm a lifetime member. And I said, well, there's a problem there, because that can only mean two things. Either you're no longer flying or I'm dead. And since I'm flying on your plane today and I'm very much alive, you got to let me in. They wouldn't let me in. So you know what I did? I didn't write as Peter Greenberg, travel editor, CBS News. I wrote as Peter Greenberg, Delta Airlines mileage member, to Delta saying, this is what just happened to me. Can you please fix it? 2 weeks later, I get a letter with an apology from Delta saying, we're so sorry this happened to you. Here's your new card. And it said on the card, Delta Sky Club, with my name and my number, and it had an expiration date. What did Delta know that I didn't know? They couldn't help themselves. That's how few lifetime members there are, but I'm still one, and that problem's been fixed. So I hope I've answered your lounge question. Let me go back here for a second and get to some of the other questions when it wants to be nice to me. Here we go. Here it comes. Darlene wants to know, I took a flight some months ago. Upon arrival, Austrian Airlines texted me that they lost my luggage. I changed up my travel schedule and stayed close to the airport. So it took them 2 days to get the luggage to me. I had to buy new clothes and some small stuff for basic hygiene. I took very clear pictures and receipts from everything, made sure I followed the procedures. I read online that this was allowed and would be refunded. I have not yet received anything. Kind of feel pissed, I get it, because I paid more to not fly a budget airline to avoid stuff like this, but I received bad service overall looking back on the whole experience. Is there any reason why this takes months? Will I ever get my money back? Well, here's my question. Darlene, did you fill out the forms at the time of it? Yes. Did you get the first and last name of the person you filled out the forms with, or their contact information? Did they tell you that you were free to buy basic supplies, right? Toothpaste, toothbrush, underwear, socks, et cetera, et cetera. You didn't go to Neiman Marcus. So do me a favor, write me to peter@petergreenberg.com with all those receipts and all the correspondence you've had from them from the very first form you filled out. and let me see if we can get into that for you, okay? But the key is when these things happen, you have to be a great reporter at the time and do what? Take names, numbers, witnesses, everything. Also, do you have receipts for anything? By the way, you did get your luggage back, right? Okay, so send me that stuff. Let's see what we can do. Emma says, I booked a ticket with Air France with a connection at Charles de Gaulle. That's always an interesting challenge. All in a single transaction. Let me just get this straight. If I missed my connection due to a delay, will I be rebooked to the next available flight completely free of charge when using the cheapest ticket category? I am not used to connecting flights, hence why I'm asking this. If the delay is caused by Air France and it's on another Air France plane or another Sky Team plane, of which Air France is a member, yes, they will rebook you. And if you miss the connection where you have to spend the night overnight, remember, you qualify under what? EC 261. That's the European Community Rule 261, which actually pays you money in addition for your hotel stay and your rebooked flight. Okay, so remember, anybody gives you trouble, if that happens, say, I'd like to invoke EC Rule 261. They will look at you like deer in the headlights for about 10 seconds and then realize, hey, Emma knows, and things will happen. Okay, by the way, that also applies not just to Air France, but to any airline flying to or through the European community, which includes U.S. airlines as well. Okay, Jim says, I am planning on flying from Slovakia to Sweden, and I was wondering if I could take a fishing gear, hooks, and lures, collapsed fishing rod in my carry-on bags. What constitutes a sharp object is subjective. And I've seen fishing lures taken away from people because you can use it as a weapon. Depends on how large the lure is. My advice, the fishing rod can go in your carry-on bag. The fishing line can go in your thing. But you know what? Pack the lures in your check-in bag. You'll be okay. Why? Because if they take it away from you at security, you've already checked in your bag. Now what are you going to do, right? Okay, Britt says, I'm going to Iceland in 2 weeks and our flight lands at 4:30 in the morning. It seems like not too much is open until 8 or 9 a.m. Do you have any suggestions of cafes, any place indoors that we could hang out for a couple of hours? I'm assuming you're landing in Reykjavik and you're going into town. Is that correct? Then by the time you clear customs and get your bags, the trip from the airport into town is only 20 minutes. And any hotel's got a great little restaurant and cafe, and there are other cafes right next to the hotels in the harbor, so you'll be okay. Okay, Diane says, do I know of any last-minute travel deals for Thanksgiving? Well, sure. Outside the U.S., go to Europe. They don't know from Turkey. Even Turkey doesn't know from Turkey. That's where I'd go. But if you absolutely have to travel in the U.S. for Thanksgiving, look, I've said this before. I will continue to say it. At least to me, I know this sounds a little insensitive, but to me, Thanksgiving is an obligatory dysfunctional family get-together. You've heard me say it before. So if I do have to go somewhere for a Thanksgiving moment, I will actually fly on Thanksgiving morning on the 6 a.m. flight. I will get to where I need to go in time to carve the turkey and have all my relatives push all my buttons. I'll overnight that night, and at 6 a.m. the next morning, while they're preparing to get to the mall on Black Friday, I'm back at the airport on a day where every plane is absolutely empty. You can go bowling on the plane, and I get to fly back home. I've satisfied my Thanksgiving obligations, and now I can watch as much bad football as I want. That's my suggestion. Unless if you want to go overseas, that's what you do. Okay. Matthew says, next year is my 25th wedding anniversary. Congratulations. And I've been asking several different people, where can I find cruises to Alaska? I've been searching for days on those websites they give, but I have no luck. All cruises I found are leaving from Seattle or Canada to Alaska. I want to surprise my wife, but so far it seems almost impossible. I'm looking for a 7 to 10 day cruise leaving from the Los Angeles area. Well, you didn't tell me when your 25th anniversary was, other than it's next year. That's number one. Number two, the only cruises you're going to find leaving from Los Angeles to Alaska are the cruises that are repositioning cruises coming from the Mexican Riviera in early May, at the beginning of the Alaska cruise season. But you can't tell me you can't find Alaska cruises next summer when there'll be at least 39 ships in the inside passage. So, but if you want to go from LA, then one or two of those ships will do a Los Angeles departure. And because of the Jones Act, it will not go from Los Angeles to Seattle. It will go from Los Angeles to Vancouver. Because under the Jones Act, passed back in 1939, which was ostensibly done to protect the American merchant marine, and what it did was it killed the American merchant marine, but it's still on the books. It says that no ship that's not registered in the U.S. can sail between any two U.S. ports without stopping in a foreign port first. I mean, ironically, when the QM2 does its round the world cruise and it stops in Los Angeles, its next stop is Hawaii, right? No, its next stop is one day in Ensenada to comply with the Jones Act. Ridiculous, right? Same thing here. So even though that ship will be leaving from LA in May, it will stop in Vancouver to comply with the Jones Act. All right, let's scream down a few more here and see what we got. I'm scrolling all the way down here. A lot of people saying hey, they love the photo in Leland in Michigan. We do too. All right, a couple other little housekeeping notes. Of course, our show this week, Eye on Travel on CBS, airing Saturday at 10 o'clock till 1 p.m. So if you want to listen to it online when it streams as well, go on around 10:05 Eastern. Is coming from the Willard in Washington, D.C. World famous hotel, a lot of history there. And by the way, the name of the derivation of the word lobbying started in that hotel, among other things. It was one of the first truly eco-friendly hotels in the United States that actually meant something. We'll talk about that as well. So I hope you'll tune in. We're going to have a fascinating interview with a good friend of ours, Sarah Nelson, who's the international president of the Association of Flight Attendants. Boy, does she have things to say. And I hope you get a chance to listen. Things that do affect you every time you travel. So that's this Saturday. If you can't catch it live on any of the markets where you are, you can get it streaming live on our website, petergreenberg.com. Again, Hidden Louisiana, premiering next month on PBS, Amazon, and Apple TV. Hidden Belize already on the air. Hidden Mississippi starting on the air. And that, I think, wraps it up for me here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Anthony, thank you so much for all your help today, as always. Everybody have a great rest of the week, and we will see you next week from somewhere that I think it's about 8,000 miles away. How's that for a tease? All right, have a great week, everybody. Hang in there and be safe.